Be'ez Hashem Parshas told us, Tavshin Pei Daled. Someone sent in a question, a little bit, the person was a little bit upset. It sounded in one of the Shiurim that if someone is suffering, then the person should do a cheshbon nefesh and figure out that's really because of their chatoim, for sure. My Chazal en Yisurim beloichet. There has to be this episode Aveira, and that Aveira is the cause of the pain. And if that's the case, a person should know that there's only one mahalach to take, do tshuva, and that's what you're supposed to be thinking about. The person said it's frustrating. Why? Because what happened theoretically, if a person would do tshuva on all their chatoim, a person would be a tzaddik gomer. They would be a tzaddik. And what would happen if they would go through a parsha, if they would be suffering, if they would have Yisurim? Then we would say that is a parsha of tzaddik v'raloi. And we don't see that the tzaddikim have to necessarily be totally nitzel, they have to be saved from all types of Yisurim. No, there's a sugya. So if that's the case, so even if a person did do a chait, why are you saying that you know it's because of my Avera? Who told you that? Maybe it's Yisurim Shalahava. Don't tell me it's because of my chatoim. It could be that it's because of Yisurim Shalahava. Because if a person wouldn't have any chatoim, we know that it could be the person's going to have Yisurim anyways. That was basically the question that was raised. Now, if we try to understand what's behind that question, it is very interesting. You saw it in the nefesh that a person could find out about himself, and it's very, very important, especially in today's generation, where we're not used to hearing old-time Musar. Like if someone goes through something, especially if it's big Yisurim, you can't talk about that. It's because you did Aveira or something. You up there in Shemai, you could blame, you could point fingers. What's the common mahalach is, you just give chizik. It's going to be good. It's be'etzem, it's toivanista, and it's going to become toivanigla. And don't get stuck now thinking about this Aveira, that Aveira. First you have to thank the Rebbeinu Shalom that it's best. That's more the going item today's days. Now, the reason for that is because try telling someone that it's because of your Aveiras. Then you'll find out why you can't use that language today. It's not going to do any good. Because the person is just going to shut down, get upset, both of them, and it's not going to bring the person to steigen. So you try your best. Mitzat sheni, we have to, for once, get down to the bottom of it. That what's going on in this topic of you can't know why the Eibusha does something. You can never know which is all true. We could not know. Mitzat sheni, we know there's a mahalach of en Yisurim beloichet. There's no such a thing that a person is suffering if he wouldn't have any chatoim. Somewhere there is a chet. Sometimes people feel that it's like a way to get you. Right, you once did Aveda when you're little, 50 years ago. Every person once did Aveda, okay? So now you're going to suffer for it. They feel like there's no way out. You're always going to be blamed. So let's elaborate. Let's a little bit understand how this works. Usually, a person, when they have a very, very big disappointment, when they're devastated, they at first start blaming someone. Number one, the nefesh automatically starts the blame game. It's this person, it's that person. I told him to do this. Why didn't he? I wanted to. It wasn't my fault. They right away take the frustration and point it outwards towards someone that could be blamed. That is the teva, that's the nature of a human being. And an Ehrlich Yid must figure out how to go around that. Because if a person does that, then sooner or later they're really blaming the Rebbeinu Shalom on all their issues. Sometimes it's not politically correct to say it, that it's Hashem, but they're really upset. I davened so hard, I did this Kabbalah, that Kabbalah, and it didn't work, and I'm mad. And then they don't know why they find their children also talking that way. I'm upset at Hashem because Hashem did this and this to me. And the emes that if a person doesn't work out this nakuda in the nefesh, it's going to happen. Even if a person is smart enough not to say it, because officially you can't say that, but it's going to go through their head when they go through Yisurim. Why? Why do I deserve this? I was so bad. I'm like the worst guy in the shul that have to go through this terrible, terrible Yisurim. And it's taking the pain outwards. You're blaming someone. Now, why does a person have such a hard time? A gefährliche hard time to say, I'm the one to blame. I messed up. It's all because of me. People feel that if they say that, if they're going to be masking to that, they're going to fall apart. So if it's something small, like a cup of coffee spilled, you can fix it. It's a mess that, you can fix it. So then, a person that's healthy has a self-confidence. He says, I shouldn't have done that, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, I'm at fault. But if it's something bigger, if it's something more painful, then a person feels, no, that's not an option. If someone died at a young age, and I'm going to say, yeah, I'm at fault, it was my mistake, shouldn't have happened, then a person feels that they're not going to be able to continue living like that. Sometimes Hashem, unfortunately, it was if a bus driver just runs over a child or what, sometimes they really feel like they can't continue. The guilty feelings is so powerful, so strong. The pain is so deep that I can't. So people have that same problem in their life when they have massive issues. Sometimes it could be a messy divorce. It could be not geschmack, for real. If I'm going to say I'm at fault, then it's going to be too painful. So even if they're not blaming verbally, they're not going around, they're not talking. But they're not going to take the blame on themselves because they feel it's an unhealthy mahalach, and they just run away from there. The problem is that if we would be able to figure out a mahalach, how a person could realize what they did wrong, say the truth, and stay happy and not fall apart, we would get much further in life by far. This is the nakuda that we have to try to understand this year. It means most times when a person doesn't blame themselves, doesn't do tshuva, we're not talking about unhealthy blaming. We're talking about a person understands, I need to do tshuva, but they're healthy. Most times when they don't go there, they're not going to be fixing problems for real. Why? Because the mistake that's in there, it could be avedas from the past. Yeah, Hashem has a much, much bigger look at a person. Hashem holds of a person much. Hashem knows the godless of a person, and because he be'emes has godless, Hashem be'emes expects him to do tshuva on his chatoim. if he would fix them, then the shefa that he would get, and the or, it would be a whole different type of life. Not shaykh. He would be zeichet to such hatzlacha. Problem with it, he can't go there. The person feels if he's going to go there, it's just going to fall apart in ganzen. So he goes to professional. Professional helps him not to blame himself. Helps him get up and have self-confidence and forget. And I understand why the professional does that. We're just saying, Lu Yitzur, imagine a person would be able to do that totally without getting sucked into that yiush and atzvus of, if that happened because of me, then what's the point of continuing on to live? Imagine you were able to separate them. And he would see that once he said what he's not supposed to, and once he spoke, and he looked where he wasn't, and he did this avera and that avera, and he he messed up, and they would show a person, they would see that child died. Because of that avera, that child didn't make it. Yep. That's what happened. I'm just telling you. Imagine a person would see the whole picture, and at the same time, they would be able to be b'simcha, and not fall apart. You know what would happen? Mashiach would come. That's what's going to happen. Why? Because mitzad echad, the person's not going to want to do avera. No way. No way. I'm not going there. I'm not doing that. It's not an option. Mitzad sheni, they would go on full force with energy, geschmack. They would learn. They would daven. They wouldn't be bad. No atzos. Imagine. Zero. No guilty feelings running out, garnished. It would be amazing. So even if we can't get it all the way, let's say, at one time, but just by avoiding the conversation about it and just continuing on to make believe nothing happened, it's not a mahalach. It could be a mahalach sometimes for some people, derweile. It means, meanwhile, before they're ready, and it's not the time. Like the Gemara says in the 4th paragraph of Metzia, that while a person is sitting shiva or whatever, don't now talk to them about their averis. It's not the time. It's not appropriate. That's for sure. About 100%. But a person should snooze it and say, so when can I call you back? So when can we discuss it?
Say it himself.
He should say it himself. Yeah, somebody else. We're not talking about somebody else should give musa. Oh, we had to say it in the beginning of the Shechaval. It's unless we said it now. No. Someone from the side, he's pointing, he's saying, you did this. No. The point is the person himself. Only because a different person cannot know. A different person cannot know what's really going on. Believe me, but Emes can't know. You can't be down a person and you don't even know the basics to give musa to somebody else most of the times. The basics, you don't know their nisyonis. You would be so embarrassed if you just know facts, what's going on. But the person himself has to be able to make a time and say, when I'm going to be up to it, I think I want to open the conversation. I think I'm ready. Now, what's the good news? If a person would chap that it's the biggest toiva in the world for him to open up that conversation with himself, because a person feels that they're going to be better off, they're going to be able to feel better, but it's like it's just pushing it off. It's like taking drugs. It's painkillers. It's painkillers, just pushing it off. You can't live on Nurofen a day, 2, whatever. You can't live like that. So if we would know what are the machshavas that could help a person, that even if he's faced with the truth and it's painful truth, he can still be be'emes b'simcha. If a person can figure out how to do that, it can help a person stop blaming others, even when there is who to blame. There's be'emes who to blame. People did avlus to you, but the person is saying, listen, what the avlus that person did is not negeya. It's not negeya for me. Why? Because I'm accountable on my actions, and if I had Yisurim, it means I have what to fix. I want to fix it.
I'll explain why it's so detrimental and unhealthy to keep it inside. That someone was saying it's healthy that it should be addressed, right?
Right.
So why is that like why?
Why can't you leave it the way it is?
Yeah. I just wanna.
If a person leaves it the way it is, the main issue is that they're not fixing the problems. That's the main issue. So what happens is it's coming up again and again and again, and the problem is that who's the one that's suffering that it wasn't addressed? Who's the one that's suffering? The person himself. So he thinks he's getting away. He thinks he's making it easier and more comfortable. You're not making it more comfortable. It's 1,000 times worse. Stammer than Hazadik. A person is losing out. They're losing out. That's such a chaval. When the person would come up to Shemayim, they suffered. It was bashet for them, and many times they would just say, "It wasn't bashet. You just didn't get it. I showed you a simon, another simon, another simon. You just every time you just shoved it away. Why you do that?" So that's why it's very, very important for a person to chap what's happening.
But Eeyou did nothing wrong, and his friends were pushing him to confess, and he refused, and in the end he came out good.
Right. And Eeyou, the Gemara talks about Eeyou, that his friends were telling him maybe you did this Aveda and that Aveda. The pasuk that we said, the Gemara says that it's Noah's Devorim. If you do it not in the appropriate time, is about Eeyou. His friends were pressing him that he should do vidu, he should confess, he should be more, and he
was doing more. They were telling him he should curse Hashem and die.
Now, the truth is that a tzaddik, a real tzaddik, there's a mahalach of Yisurim shalahav. And the Kash of Tzaddik V'Ra'aloi, the Ramban talks about an Akdoma of Eeyou. Because by Eeyou, we really have to understand what was the story. We're talking about us regular folks. People that we know that there's a lot out there, but the person tends to ignore it. And it's fascinating because there is Schar V'Onesh and we believe in Schar V'Onesh. We believe in Schar V'Onesh. We also believe that every little detail, they even give them a cheshbon. But then, when it comes L'maisa, we say, no, not now. Not now, not this case, it nothing to do with me. That's what we all do. And it's chaval. Because if we could get a person to understand without getting frustrated in the middle, then we're not the case of Eeyou. If we would be the case of Eeyou, then Chanam. But we have things we could correct. Now a person has to learn how to do that without that it should be in an unhealthy way. The Gemara Masechtas Avodah Zarah speaks about the story of Rebbe Loza ben Dordaya, that he was a Bal Aveda, and he did every Aveda in the book. And at the last minute, this woman told him, you should know you can't do tshuva. There's no way you could do tshuva. And he went to, the Gemara says, he went to the Ruchos HaShamayim and he said, help me do tshuva. They said, we can't help you. We need Rachmei Shamayim ourselves. He went to Shamayim V'Oretz and they said, we can't help you. He tried everything. In the end, when he saw nobody's about to help him, he said, Ein Adover Tolu Yalo Bi. It's up to me. And that's when he was a Tshuva Shlema. And Yotza Baskelin said, Yash Koine Lo B'Sho Achas. And he was nifted because the Eibush didn't want him to mess up again. But when he got to that understanding, when he reached that understanding, nobody could help him, he was cleaned. He was set. He was Zeichet Olam Haba. But it was a painful process. The journey that he had to take was to try every door, every knob, and everybody just rejected him. And then he was there himself, and he said, I have nobody to blame. It's me. That Akora it hit home so deep that on itself was tshuva. He started crying and he said, I did something I'm not supposed to. And he felt so much better. He was zoicha. A person is zoicha to tainug then. Here's the mistake. People feel that they're gonna mamash lose everything. And it's punkt verkehrt. A person is only fighting and is only feeling horrible as long as there's a conflict going on. But if a person could live with that truth and not fight it at the same time, then a person is a new person. The reason why people can't face the bitter truth is because they're fighting it. They're fighting it toch kedei. They're saying, no way, can't be. They're living in denial at the same time. But if they would be'emes leave go when they hear the truth, they would be able to feel much better. But before we get there, I first want to repeat a Yares Dvash from Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz. Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, in his Sefer Chelek Rishon Drush Aleph, he brings this Gemara that we spoke about. And he says, when he went to the Ruchos Rois, he went to all the... Ruchos Rois HaShech Nabor, the Shadim, all of that. He says, you know why he spoke to them? Because he says, they were maces me. They persuaded, they told me to do a chait. And he says, the Gemara says in Masechtas Brachos that they're around the person and they look to harm the person and to convince the person to do Averis. And he was saying to himself that because of them, I did all my Averis. Because it wasn't my fault. And then he went to the Horim, he went to the mountains, the valleys, and he says, yeah, because the Horim Ugvois, they're the ones that make the people do Averis. V'haraya, look, the Goyim, they didn't avoid the Zorah, the Horim. So because of them, I was nichshal in Aveira. And then he went to the Shemayim Voris, and he says, I figured it out. What happened? He says the Shemayim words they contradict each other. They're stira, and because of that, it makes me want to do averos. He elaborates. I'm just saying somewhere along. It means, I would say in today's language, no, we should get hurt. Yeah, but in today's language, all this means I was abused when I was a child. This is what it means. It means that a person is saying there's a reason for it. It doesn't mean there isn't. It doesn't mean that this person didn't go through anything when he was a child. It doesn't mean. But as long as the person is saying, I have a green light because this is what happened to me. It's not green, it's like yellow. That's the reason why the person can really get himself, he can get himself out of this mess. And a person doesn't chop it, because it's very deep. Mitzad echad, a person feels, I'm overwhelmed. I can't, I promise you. I have this person that told me that's not my fault. And that professional that told me that he never had such a case. And I read up about it, that someone that goes through and don't ask them, they manage to get messed up from inside. And then what does the person tell himself after that? It's true what happened. Then they say, if that's the case, then it's not my fault. Because if they're going to say it is their fault, then they're just going to even more be depressed. Maybe they're going to commit suicide if it's their fault. So they can't get to the place, they can't get to the mokum that I could be at ease with the matziv and talk to the Rebbe Shem about it. They can't. So they can't get themselves out of the mess. Now, I want to just explain. It's emes that people have nisyonos on a different level. And people went through zach in their life, which made it impossible. I'm not saying kimat impossible. I'm using the word impossible. Impossible for them to get unstuck themselves from the matzah that they're in. And they tried, and they went to so many people, and they davened. I'm not saying that's not true. It's very, very, very painful. And it's very, very unfair to sit and just say that. It's there for no chas v'sholom. That's not the top. That's not the Yisoid. The Yisoid is something else. It's deep. The Yisoid is that after everything that happened to a person has to chap that if they're not going to blame, they're going to be better off. That's the Yisoid. It means the pathway, the mahalach to refuah goes through the shar. You have to go through the door. But I'm not blaming anybody. It brings the person to Gan Eden on this world. That's the Yisoid. Because as long as a person is blaming in their mind, even only in their mind, they're stuck to it. They're tangled up. They can't really help themselves. When a person leaves go of every string, and Rebbeinu Shalom, maybe it's because of my past. I'm not blaming anybody. Could be that's what happened to me when I was a child because of a different gilgul. But I'm not upset that it happened. And it's very hard for a person to say that because they're suffering for 20 years because of what happened. But as long as they're upset that it happened, they can't get out. They have to be able to leave go in ganzen and say, it had to happen, it was the best thing. And now there's a way. Ich weiß nicht der Weg. And I'm talking to the Rebbeinu Shalom about it. I don't know yet the way. And if I didn't find the way, it's also the toiv. But I'm doing tshuva. I'm doing tshuva. That is going to bring them to a better mahalach of refuah and closeness to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and they're going to be matzliach. Now, we didn't yet finish how this works, but beforehand, there's a kapitel in Tehillim, kapitel Lamed Beis. Kapitel Lamed Beis, David HaMelech says that he says like this. He talks about that Asher Nisui Peshek Sui Chato, that it's a person that gets kapora, that he stopped hiding his chatoim. And then there's a Posek Gimel. Posek Gimel, it says like this: Ki acharashti bolu atzomai. Because I schweigen, they say in Yiddish, I was quiet, silent. Because I was silent, I became weak. Bolu atzomai, I weakened. Bishagosi kol hayom. So Rashi explains Ki acharashti. Rashi says, because I didn't confess, I didn't say vidui, I didn't talk about chatoim, that's why I became shvach. And so the word b'shagosi, Rashi doesn't actually, but the Malbim, the Meforshim explain b'shagosi means that I can't stop screaming because I'm not saying vidui. I cannot get rid of the pain. I can't get rid of the pain. Why? Because I'm not saying vidui. And someone that's zoichet to disconnect from that matziv, such a person is ashrei. That's the beginning of the kapitel. That means severtem gut. He feels much, much better. Much better. The person feels. Now, the whole kapitel talks about this concept, but this pasuk explains this musik. Ki acharashti, it's not going to get you to a better place. Because it's around and around. You don't want to really open up it's just making it worse. You know, in today's matzav in Eretz Yisrael, the situation in the south and in the north, but the south hit us with reality. They all knew what's going on in Gaza, but they didn't have any mahalach. So they just kept on pushing it off. And not only pushing it off, also building a shita around it. It's the most common.
Cutting the grass. called it cutting the grass.
They called it cutting the grass?
Yeah. That every so often the grass gets too long, so you have to
Oh.
cut it.
You have to cut it every so often, so you just may have a little sivuv,
You
seviv.
don't take out the roots.
You don't take out the roots. Now, but it goes deeper than that. What goes deeper than that is that it wasn't enough. They also knew that they're restocking. So what are they answering themselves? The answer was, nah, they don't. They Pneim lahazdara. They wanna. They didn't really wanna kill the Jews. They don't want to. Now, there was how many people and how many Pashta Chavis said, "What are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense what you're saying." Every Pashta of us, you build a sheet around something which is too uncomfortable. They couldn't go. What? I'm going to start a war for nothing. I can't go in there. It's going to cost that many chayalim. I'm just using it as a marshal of a concept. The concept is that a person deep down knows that there are issues, but they're like, what do I do about it? I want to start now. Ich kann nicht kommen weg. So you just build a sheet that there's no issues. And a person gets verloren, so many issues, like, where am I going to start? I'm not going to come at Tzaddik Goma anyways. So you just build a sheet that it's fine. You just push it off. And Elul Tishrei, you just talk about it. And you continue on in life. Problem is that it comes back to you as like a boomerang. When it hits a person, it could be 20 years later. It's there. The core is there. The person never fixed that, Zach. And when it comes, and a person again ignores it, it's still there. And if a person has to take care of it in Olam Haba, it's even more painful. So a person has to chap that. What's the chizik behind it? Besides that, if a person is going to look at it in the eyes, it's set him 100 times better, he's going to feel better, he's going to fix it, he's going to have a better life. Besides all that, a person needs much more chizik than that. It's not enough. Because it's too scary for a person to go there sometimes. A person has to know a few klolim. Number one, even if a person did a chet and he has to do tshuva, the Rebbeinu Shalom created him human. The Rebbeinu Shalom created a person that a person could do mistakes. The question is not, what were you thinking? How did it happen? You're not normal. That's not the shaila. That's not the feeling. The Rebbeinu knows that it could happen. The Rebbeinu has rachmanos on the person that it happened. The ein adam ish there's issues. But you just have to understand the connection. You have to draw the line. So this caused that. Wow, that's powerful. A person should connect the dots, saying, after that many years of life, he saw that if you do this, this is what happens. It doesn't pay. It doesn't mean that he was totally not normal for Bachlal going there. He had Sahara. So it should be some akiv. But he has to chab what was the result. More than that, there's tshuva mi'ahava. Tshuva mi'ahava means that a person is going to do tshuva, is going to fix the past. You can fix everything. The brega the person realizes, they could fix to the extent of tchiyas hamesim. It becomes a ruchni fixing that a person could undo harm. Even Lu Yitzu, the person that killed people, there's a tshuva of it. Then the shamas are going to come back. It's going to be figured out. It's never a mess, ever. It's never ever a mess that can be fixed. Now, if the person came to realization, he chapped where he's wrong or why something happened, there's no bigger simcha. There's no bigger simcha. He has clarity, he has closeness to Hashem, he's closer to his goal. There's no reason that a person should get depressed because of it. Now, to the question, right in the beginning of the shir, that a person says, but if I would be a tzaddik, then anyways, I would have had chatoim. So why are you now saying it? He says it would have had Yisurim. So now why are you saying that it was because I had a chet? What's right on such a question? It's the biggest matana for a person to get reminded. If a person goes over, imagine someone comes over to you and he says, he's like on. It's not a schmack for him to tell you, but he says you have something in your beard, or you have something in your face, mamash. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for a second, but you would want to go around the whole chasana like that. You should thank that person. So for a second, it's uncomfortable. But then, Baruch Hashem, when a person is saying, "Why are you telling me it's because I did Averis?" Even if I would have been a tzaddik, what are you going to say? Yeah, very good question. Well, let me ask you, okay? I'm not going to tell anybody. You might have Averis. It could be. So why are you upset that I said it's because you have Averis? That's the question. Why does it bother you? Because you feel like 2 cents? Because you feel, I'll tell you why. Because you feel you caused the Yisurim upon yourself, and you could have been chosech, you could have not gone through this, and you can't handle that thought. Instead of running away from it and living your whole life that you can't handle that thought, maybe we should sit about how to handle it. Because that's when a person have a better life. And the way to handle that machshava is by understanding that the Rebbeinu Shem knew a person is gonna do chatoim. The Rebbeinu Shem loves a person b'shas ma'aseh. A person could fix she'en kedugmosai. And we don't understand all the cheshbonis why the Eibishter created us in a certain mahalach. But it still holds true to a person on himself. Every time he sees Yisurim, the best thing for him to do is he should fix things. Now, if he's not now in a matzah that he can handle that machshava, he should push it off. And he should remember the other part of the same truth. The other half of the same truth is that everything is l'toiva and everything is basheret. And as I but when he's capable, he should remind himself of the second half, of the first half rather, of the Yisod. The Yisod is, you're always going to be better off, always, by saying, I want to have more toiv. Let me do tshuva on something. Let me just chaparein. It's a hizdamnus that I could do tshuva for something. It's not a patch that a person fakert. It's opportunity. It's opportunity. Let me do something b'simcha. All the tzaddikim speak about it. When a person does tshuva, they should do it from simcha. It could only come from simcha when a person is chapping that he's climbing a ladder. He's going to a better place. Anything that happened to the person is something that's bringing him to a better matzah. So right now it's choshech. It's going to turn into or. Still needs some maybe cosmetic zachen to make it a little bit softer, but it's food for thought. And if a person gets upset on this shir, it's noch a shir. Okay.
But sometimes when a person confesses